But the president has meant, we do know who supports Bashar al-Assad. We don't know really what the actual situation is, but let's talk a minute about the president and where he gets his support. In order to present a Western image, Bashar marries indicated Asma, who is a London-raised Syrian wife, very attractive. Some very cavalier, both in Damascus and in London, claim that Bashar married her knowing she'd be an asset to this young, rather bashful, shy man as he tried to work his way into popularity with the Syrian people. Others have report that her presence and her role as first lady have caused tension within the Assad family. Living in the palace with Bashar al-Assad are his mother, Anissa, who's a very powerful person in her own right, and his sister, Bashra. She is ambitious. She likes her younger brother, Maher, a lot better. This is Maher over here. But there have been some indications that Asma wanted to move the country more towards reform, which Bashar did too, but they don't. It's believed that Bashar is indeed in control, but it may be the weakest link in the family, which requires unity in order to survive. And just as Rifat deserted his brother Hafiz, there may be indication that Maher may make a move against his brother, were the circumstances to be true. The Dirty Dozen, whatever the truth in these reports, the country is surrounded, Assad surrounded by men who very kindly might call them thugs, but who in any event would be characterized as the Dirty Dozen. I've only looked at 5 of them today. I don't have time to go to, but you'll get the general feeling about these guys. First is Maher al-Assad. He's the head of the Republican Guard. He's the president's younger brother. He's said to be Syria's second most powerful man. I think that probably is the case. He heads the Republican Guard, the elite forces, protects the regime from domestic threats, and is the only one permitted in the city of Damascus. He commands the 4th Armored Division as well. So a very powerful man indeed. One can believe that Assad will stay in control of Syria as long as 2 cities remain relatively calm. These are 2 largest, Aleppo in the north and Damascus. There have been very few demonstrations in those 2 cities, and demonstrations that have been held in largely pro-Hafez al-Assad. But once you have demonstrated in those cities, then I think he can count his days as going out. Second person is Asad Shalka. He's Deputy Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces. He's being indicted by the International Criminal Court as well. He's replaced in 2010 as head of military intelligence. He's made Deputy Chief of Staff to the Armed Forces. He is the husband of Bushra, the sister. He's a worm. He's a dreadful worm indeed, but he is a person to be reckoned with. Rami Makhlouf, he's the first cousin of Bashar al-Assad. He's the richest man, allegedly, in the country, a billionaire. He's been subject of persistent accusation of corruption, I think very well proven. One of his key companies is the cell phone company, Syria. This shows the reaction of people in Daraa who burned it out because he is so much hated. He's the name who was on that list, that man people didn't like, Bashar, Maher, Rami, and Hezbollah. He has been in the New York Times giving an op-ed at one point saying how the Assads are there to stay, but they're good people, more from the country, etc., etc., etc. But recently the pressure is such on the president that Rami Makhlouf has literally now given up all his economic interests and will only now work for charitable causes. Then we have Abdel Fattah Qudsiyan. He's head of military intelligence. He has a reputation for ruthless efficiency. Many of these leaders have really considerable authority over past presidents, and this goes way back, and there's been like 17 prime ministers, I think 71 prime ministers in Syria's modern history. And this guy is very instrumental in having him replaced. But he also, this group ensures the physical security of the presidency, so he's a very key person. Then we have Ali Mamlouk. Born in 1946, he's head of the General Security Directorate, Mukhabarat, State Security. No one likes state security in any place in the Middle East. He served in this post since 2005, and involves with sensitive issues concerning Syria. He's the one who plays the key role in terms of quelling internal dissent. And he, along with Maher and Asif Shawkat, are ones who have been severely sanctioned by the national community and are believed to be on warrants being issued by the International Criminal Court. So whither Syria now? What's going to happen? To say the least, Syria is in trouble. Bashar's Achilles heel, as is the case in Yemen in many ways, but even more so in Syria, is his economy. One of the promises he made during one of his conciliatory speeches was to give everybody a raise in the public sector. That's fine when you have money. If you're Saudi Arabia, did likewise. They gave $164 billion to buy off the centers in Saudi Arabia. Syria didn't have any resources like that. So somehow find $1 billion additional assistance in order to keep the folks happy. Also, it's a very controlled economy in Syria. I've recommended people before this events came, go to Syria if you want to get value for your dollar. It's a wonderful country, very fine people. As long as you do anything political, you'll be most welcome. It's for a Christian, you go to villages where they still speak Amharic, the language of Jesus. Extraordinarily beautiful country, a lot of diversity, and the dollar stretches, enormously, like the 1940s and 50s. That will change, of course, if the economy develops. And foreign investment, the president thought he'd be getting $5–6 billion a year for each year of a 5-year plan. Be lucky if he gets a quarter of that. And at the moment, even that is very unlikely. We'll have to look for new resources. His on and off love relationship with the Saudis seems to be off at the moment. The Saudis like to see a moderate Islamic group in power that have more influence. Qatar may indeed, just despite the Saudis giving assistance, who knows? That's a big important question. There's no doubt, however, that Syria is critical. This is Hama up here, and then we have Damascus way down here. We have Hama and Homs in the middle. Little villages that have been subject of much just there's a blue are up here. The Kurdish region's over here. We have a revolt over here as well by Sunnis from the Iraqi area. They've been bringing technologies such as IEDs, that sort of thing, very helpful. And over here then you have a lot of Alawites, the minority which the Assad comes from. Quite a lot of key in this area over here. There's no doubt it's key, unlike Libya, which really is peripheral to most political considerations. Syria is important because the role it plays with Hezbollah in Lebanon. Hezbollah at the moment dominates the government in Lebanon. It's key with the Syrian relationship. Syria gets its entree in the Middle East through Syria. So Iran indeed is very concerned as well. Syria has been responsible for numerous deaths of presidents in Lebanon through its proxy. And Syria, Lebanese politicians are scared to death of Syria. And so we have a very weak, and whenever you have situations where Lebanese are starting to provide arms to Syrian groups inside, you have a fire which is just about to break out very strongly. So one way or another, Syria represents a stabilizing element in Lebanon. Chaos in one can lead to chaos in the other. Much of the optimism in the wake of events in Tunis and Egypt is dissipated as you move from the spring into the summer. Part of it is, frankly, the weather. It gets so hot in the Middle East. Air conditioning is not that prominent. Certainly, the bulk of the population of these countries do not have air conditioning. And around about in the middle of August, it will be a very painful time, to say the least. So we have one concern that we have to keep in mind is that new forms of authoritarianism may indeed work their way into these new liberation movements which are taking hold in these countries. And Syria is indeed one situation in that regard. Now, Israel's watching the events in Syria in very great consternation. Although it has had 3 wars with Syria, it considers Syria a reliable enemy. It never has engaged in war since the 73 war. In Lebanon, the Israelis invaded because the Syrians were mucking things up there a bit, but they never had any war between Syria and Israel. Because of the sensitivity of the Golan Heights, which are seized down here by Syria, Syria wants the Golan Heights back. So it gives back the Golan Heights, and we will have peace with Israel. It's their main consideration. Because Israel is not willing to accept that at the moment, Syria has become the host to Hamas, the political leadership of Hamas, the radical Islamic movement, Palestinian radical movement. It has also been host for other groups which have interfered in their neighbors' political life, the PKK in Turkey, which has now been resolved. But it's still early days yet. But Israel was very concerned that its relationship with Iran, again, Iran is the number one concern for Israel. When last year there was a destruction of a site up here, which has been uncovered as being a nuclear station, nuclear power plant being built by Syria, very sub rosa, with North Korean technical assistance funded by the Iranians. That gave the Syrians and the US real pause, because the only reason they were developing that was to develop uranium to build a bomb. And of course, Israel being the only one in the region which has a bomb, that's something they don't want anyone else to get. So that was taken out very efficiently by the Israelis, and very little public comment in the country, but it's an interesting conundrum which Israel faces with Syria.